Hey you guys, welcome to Talk About It Thursdays. I don't know if I've got a large glare on my screen or not, but I do apologize. I dropped my phone, so it does seem to make a difference in the quality of the picture. Um, but let me know if you're on. I'm going to keep adjusting it and try to get it to at least a decent point. There we go. That might work for us to get through our live. I was working on something in the garage, you guys. Hey, Laura. Hey, Laura. Hey, Wendy. Hey, you guys. I am so sorry, but I dropped my phone. So if the picture is not good quality, that is all on me trying to fix something in the garage. And I dropped my phone trying to watch a YouTube video. Story of my life. But I hope it's tolerable and I hope you guys can hear me. This is my first time trying to do a video chat since I dropped my phone. So I'm hoping the quality is not too bad. And we're going to give everybody just a minute to hop on, you guys. I hope y'all got something out of our last message. You know, I always try to give us all something that will help us grow. You know, there's no time in your life when it's too late to learn. There's no time when it's too late to be better. And you know, sometimes life will break you, but sometimes it'll break you just enough for you to get wiser. It'll break you enough for you to do what you needed to do in the first place. And sometimes you'll get broken enough just to get mad enough to persevere and show the enemy that he didn't win. So I hope you guys got something out of broken just enough last week. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And again, I apologize for my phone issue. I got a new one ordered. So next week will be better. But this week, we want to talk about, can you handle my battle scars? You know, we go through things in life, and unfortunately, it leaves a residue on us. Unfortunately, we are left with scars sometimes, you guys. But the scars are not always a bad thing. The scars remind you that you've been through something. The scars remind you that whatever was meant to harm you, God allowed you to make it through. And you've been tested and you survived the storm. So don't despise the scars. Don't despise what you've gone through, because everything that we go through, you guys, it has a purpose for our life. And a lot of times it takes years before we realize why we had to go through what we went through. But eventually God will show you why you had to go through all the pain, why you had to go through things the hard way without support, without the love of the people that you expected. You know, a lot of times God is just trying to mold you and make you into that perfect vessel that he knows you can be. You know, and a lot of things are within us that we never tap into when we've got a bunch of help and when we got a bunch of people supporting us and holding us up. Sometimes you never figure out what's really deep inside of you until you're left alone, until you're to that point where there's nobody that you can call on but God, and you and God got to make that thing happen. And while it would be great to go through life resting on a bed of ease, anybody that's lived for any period of time knows that that is not life. That is fiction. That is television. That is not how life works. Life is about ups and downs, hills and valleys. Case in point, my phone all jacked up knowing I'm trying to do this live. But you know what? You have to persevere no matter what is going on in your life. And you can't let one distraction, one hiccup. This was a hiccup, and I was like, well, do I cancel my live? And God said, no, you don't cancel it. It'll be all right. You just keep moving. You don't let those little things stop you from reaching your goals. And that's the thing we have to understand in life. Something's always going to come up against you, but it's up to you if it stops you. It's up to you. And sometimes you have to use those things that come against you as a stepping stone to help you move forward. And then change, anytime you want change is never going to be easy. Change always is coming by effort. It comes by force, you know, because we have these habits, we have these ways of doing things, you know, we have things in our life that are comfortable. And when it's time to change, it's not going to be comfortable. Hey, Rashida, I was telling the ladies, I apologize. I dropped my phone trying to work on my garage. But so I hope the picture's not too crazy. But we have to remember, change is good. It's not always going to be comfortable. Sometimes change is going to stretch you, but it always works out for your good. It's always there to make you better. So when you ask God to change things in your life, prepare to be uncomfortable. And we have to remember to praise God during the process. You know, even when things aren't working out the way we want them to, if we prayed about it, we've given it to God, we're doing our best, to stay in line with what He's telling us to do. Learn to praise God through the process, because He's the only one that knows how long it's going to take for you to get to where you're needing to get to. So learn to praise God during the process and enjoy the journey. Don't sit up and worry about, well, why haven't I gotten to this point yet? Why haven't I been able to do this yet? Enjoy every single day, every single part of the journey. And if you learn to praise God in the midst of the journey, it won't seem like it took that long. And you'll be building your relationship with God along the way, because God is building you into something greater than what's been challenging you. There's always something. You can be minding your own business. There's always something that's going to come against you. But you have to remember to praise God in the midst of it, because what He's put inside of you is stronger than anything. Hey, Christia, anything that the world could possibly bring against you. And you have to understand, God prepares us for the blessing. The blessings that come from God are perfect. They're good. They're perfect. They don't need preparation. Oftentimes, we need to be prepared for the things that we're asking God for. And so that prep time is your time to figure out those things that you need to do away with your personality, that nasty attitude, that lack of patience, that making decisions, on a dime instead of thinking about them. Sometimes God needs you to change the way that you are before He can give you the blessing. Because if He gives it to us in the state that we're in and we're not ready for it, we're going to end up losing it, or we're going to end up misusing what God is trying to give us. So just understand, every gift from God is perfect. It doesn't have to be prepared. We need to be prepared for the blessing. And remember, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. So anytime you're going through something that seems like things are always coming up against you, remind yourself of who is guiding you. If God is guiding you, you just say over and over again, the steps of a good man. And remind yourself, you are a good man. You are the good man, and your steps are being ordered by the Lord. No matter what's going on around you, you have to repeat to yourself, I am a good man, and my steps are being ordered by the Lord. Because the enemy wants you to hear his voice. Hey, Miss Alva. The enemy wants you to hear his voice. You need to be repeating the word of God over your life when you're going through the battle. Just remind yourself, I am God's child. My steps are ordered by the Lord. I am the good man that God talks about, and my steps are ordered by the Lord. He is going to make it come to pass. He is going to bless me in the city, bless me in the field, bless me when I come and when I go. Those are the things you have to say to yourself when you're in the battle. And remind yourself that God won't put you through any more than you can handle, because God is always going to make a way of escape for you. And when you ask God to change you, He's going to bring some disruption in your life. Like I said before, them old habits, those ways of doing things, He's got to disrupt those things in your life if you're ever going to change. You don't change when you're comfortable, and you don't change by doing the same things you've been doing. You've got to be broken off from some of those old ways so that God can change you and stretch you and take you to the next level. And He's got to bring some disruption in your life, because if He doesn't pull some people away from you, if He doesn't let this fire happen over here, this drama happen over here, a lot of times we won't change unless things are heated up in our lives. So God will bring disruption in your life when you ask Him to change you. But be careful, you guys, not to let the disruption become a distraction. You've got to stay focused on what God has told you about your life. You got to stay focused on where you're trying to go. Even when things are coming against you, people don't like you, people are talking about you, people are spreading rumors about you. Tune that stuff out. If you know that that's not true about you, tune it out. It's just a distraction to make you react. You have got to understand, in a battle, you have got to keep your eyes on God the whole time, because he's fighting for you. All that stuff they're saying, all that stuff they're doing, it's not going to hurt you. Keep your eye on God. It's just like Peter, when he saw Jesus out on the water. As long as Peter saw Jesus on the water, and that's a prime example of how we're supposed to fight our battles. Keep your eye on Jesus, trusting in Jesus. So when you see him, and just like Peter did, Peter was able to walk on the water as long as he kept his eyes on Jesus and stopped letting the distraction. He started thinking about how deep the water was, the stuff that was going on around him, and he began to sink. And that's what happens to us. Sometimes we take our eyes off God and we forget who God is and how much power God has, and we forget that we're God's child sometimes. So we have to remind ourselves to keep our eyes on God, and sometimes you got to start just singing. Sometimes you got to just start praying where you are. Sometimes you got to let your praise come up. Start worshiping God where you are. When you feel yourself getting distracted by this thing over here, this thing over there, this seems to be coming against you, take some time to yourself. Step away and begin to praise God. He will calm your spirit. He'll put some clarity in your heart. He'll make you understand that the peace that he gives you when you're going through, nobody will understand it but you and God. But you've got to seek peace. You got to seek peace and not get caught up in the distractions. And what God sends in your life will help you grow, and it will add and increase to your life. Anything less than that, anything that's taking you back and helping you digress or causing you to lose what you already have, you got to examine that thing and realize maybe that's not from God, because that's against everything God is saying. God said that Jesus came so that we will have life more abundantly. So if things are going on in your life, or associations, relationships that seem to be taken from you all the time, that seem to be keeping you from prospering, you may want to reconsider those things and ask yourself, is this where God wants me to be? Are these the people God wants me to be around? Because it seems like when I'm around them, nothing good is happening in my life. And sometimes God allows you to see that, and he's waiting for you to open your eyes and branch out and do something different. Okay? And let's talk about examples of different types of scars that we can have simply from all the stuff that we go through, you guys. One is difficulty trusting people. Like I said last week, when you've been hurt and when you've opened your heart up to people and you've been kind to people and you've trusted them with your secrets, and when they betray that trust, that's a hurt that there's not even a word to describe. And especially when it's somebody, close to you in your family, especially, that's a whole different kind of hurt. Just like when somebody does it at church, that's a whole different kind of hurt, because family and church are on such a different level as everybody else. So it's almost a spiritual thing when somebody like a mother or a father or even sister or brother, when they betray your trust. Or when people in the church, the pastor, the deacons, the deaconesses, the whoever in the church, when they hurt you, it's almost a spiritual thing that hits you, because it's just like you just almost in disbelief, because they're supposed to be so much better than that. But sometimes the scars that we have from those type of pains are just difficulty trusting people. And then number 2, difficulty opening up and loving again. The scar is we're guarded. We're leery of people. We want to know, we're not sure what their motives are. We're afraid to let our guard down to find out, because we don't want to be hurt like that again. Number 3, low self-esteem is one of those things that happen when you've had scars, when you've been hurt from things from your past. Self-doubt. You second guess, you question everything simply because you made that decision the last time and look where it got you. And so a lot of times, just simply because of what we've gone through and the scars that have been left behind, sometimes our self-esteem is low. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust anybody else. We second guess any decision. We got to have everybody's opinion on everything. That's a scar that's left behind because of what has happened to you in your past. And then number 4, difficulty believing in yourself. You know, people can try to tell you how great you are and how talented you are, and you hear it and you'll give them that half smile, but deep down inside, that scar is so deep that you don't really even receive that, because you feel like you're less than, you're not as good as they say you are. But those are those scars that attach themselves to you, not because they're fluffing you up and lying to you. They're telling the truth. It's just that you don't have the capacity to receive it, simply because of what has happened to you in your past. You know, when people have called you out of your name, when they've told you you were nothing, you were no good, you never be anything, and you're a horrible wife, you're a horrible girlfriend, horrible mother. You know, those words, they stick to you on the inside, and they cause scars, and they hurt. And it's hard to get over those things once you've heard it, because the enemy likes to replay those things. He likes to replay that tape of things that people have said, people that you've trusted, people you didn't expect it to. Now, I can handle a stranger cussing me out and calling me out of my name. But when it's somebody that's been close to me, or somebody that knows me, and they start accusing me and calling me out of my name and telling me I'm not this or that, those are those things that stick with you. Those are the things that cause those emotional scars that are hard to get over, you guys. Number 5, struggling with unforgiveness. You know, that's a scar. You know, when you try to forgive people and get over it, sometimes it takes years, you guys. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not God's child because you're having trouble forgiving. It depends on how deep the scar, how easy it is to forgive. And anybody that says that's not true, they're lying. Because when that cut is so deep, it takes a minute, because you got to deal with all those emotions. You got to deal with your selfishness. You got to deal with why me. You got to deal with a lot of things when you cut deep. It's not the same as somebody saying, girl, I can't stand you, or blah, 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 blah. And you say, I'm just playing, girl. You know I didn't mean that. That's easy to get over. But when somebody has hurt you to the core, it may take years for you to get over that. And that's okay, as long as you're trying, as long as you're working the process, as long as you're asking God to help you forgive. That is a process that has to be worked out. And as long as you're trying, God is going to make that happen for you. But don't let people judge you and say, oh, I thought you were a Christian, just because you don't get over something, a deep hurt, right away. That is a process that takes time, and nobody can tell you how long that's going to take. And then struggling with past pain, same thing. It's hard for somebody to tell you when you should be over something, because they don't know how much it affected your life. They don't know how much damage it did to you. The only person that knows that is you and God. And then number 6, post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, abused women, abused children go through post-traumatic stress disorder. Those are scars. Even though they get with somebody good that would never hurt them, it may be a sound, it may be a raising of the voice, it may be somebody moving too quickly, you know, to remind them of when they were hurt and when they were hit and when they were bruised. And so a lot of times people will react off of what happened to them in the past, even though that person in their present is not the one doing it. They didn't mean it that way. They're not going to hurt you. But you have to be able to understand, when people have gone through that type of pain and that type of low level of self-love, because it takes you to not love yourself to stay in an abusive relationship. And so when you've gone through that and that post-traumatic stress disorder, sometimes you always think that you deserved it some kind of way. Well, if I hadn't said that, he wouldn't have done that. Well, maybe next time I won't make him so mad. You know, those are the things you rationalize. I've been an abused woman, so I know what that's like. You start rationalizing ways to keep the abuse from happening again. So understand that some people, triggers are going to happen, and that's because of the scars from the post-traumatic event that's happened in their life. And unfortunately, some people have gone through a lot of traumatic events. And then number 7, another scar can be being too independent, not knowing how to let somebody help you. That's a scar. That's I can't trust nobody. I got to do it myself. I don't want nobody thinking, I need them because I don't want them to let me down. That's a scar. That's a scar. I've been there. I'm still working on that. So understand that's a type of scar. And then number 8, fear of failure. Because nobody likes to fail, but failure is part of success. You've got to fail to figure out what you need to do right the next time. Fear of failure, fear of making the wrong decision, fear of going through the same thing over and over again. That's a scar because it gives you anxiety, because not only do you not trust yourself, you also don't trust God. And so that's a scar. Those are the types of scars that people can deal with in their life just because of things that have happened to them in the past. And then when we talk about different types of battles, battles don't just come in one form. Battles come in financial hardship, toxic relationships, career issues, internal battles where you're fighting against yourself. You have all these negative feelings about yourself. That's a battle. Feelings of suicide, that's a battle. Fighting within yourself to stay sane, that's a battle. Insecurities is a battle. Doubting yourself, doubting others all the time. Being abused is a battle. Trauma of some type is a battle. Fear, being fearful of everything, is a battle. Just dealing with parenthood issues sometimes, just dealing with raising our kids, sometimes that's a battle because it's you against everything those kids are exposed to in the world. It's you against all of those friends and what them friends say that your mom and dad can't do, and they shouldn't be doing this, they shouldn't be doing that. Those friends got a way of getting in your children's ears. That's why it's good to make sure that friends come over to your house. See, that was my strategy, especially with my youngest. I needed to know the kind of people my son was hanging out with. So it was always boys' night at my house. They was always spending the night at my house because I needed to see what kind of people my son was dealing with. And if I could get them all on the mindset of respecting Miss Karen, then they're going to help him respect Miss Karen. And then that negative mindset, negative about other people, negative about your future, negative about what can and cannot happen in your life, that's a battle. Just not being able to have positive thinking, that's a battle. So those are the types of battles that we all can go through from time to time. And there's always a purpose in the battles in our life. The battle is either one, there to correct us, and sometimes we won't do anything different, or we won't even get right, or we won't even turn around from doing things wrong. Hey, Deborah, until something comes against us, until we hurt ourselves, sometimes we won't change. And so understand that sometimes the battle is there to correct you and get you back on the right path. And then also, the battle can be there to refine you. Sometimes God needs to take you through some things to get some of that stuff out of you. When I was one of those people that was a people pleaser, always trying to make everybody happy, fearful that people wouldn't like me, this, that, and the other. Hey, Michael. Hey, Deborah. Wouldn't like me. Hey, Alv, if I didn't say that. Didn't like me. And I'm sorry about the screen, you guys. I dropped my phone when I was working in the garage. But, I was one of those people that were always giving in to everybody else. And it took God to take me through the fire where I literally had to stand up to bullies in my own house. I had bullies living in my own house. I had already had bullies in my family that I catered to my whole life. And I always tried to stay on everybody's good side. And I was the quiet one, the mousy one, the one that cried real easy, all of that. But God put me in a battle within my own home, you guys, to where I had to fight for myself and I had to fight for my children. And it made me strong. It made me strong, you guys. I hated it. I cried a lot. I kept saying, why me? But you know what? Through it all, when I look back on it, it had to happen that way because I didn't want to spend the rest of my life trying to make everybody else happy, because I would still be that person that gave in to the bullies, that tried to keep everybody in good spirits with me and tried to stay on everybody's good side if I hadn't went through what I went through. So I thank God for going through that. I don't wish it on nobody else, especially in your own house, but it had to happen that way for me. And I thank God that it happened that way because it taught me how to fight. And I'm not talking about physical fighting. It taught me how to fight for myself in the spirit. It taught me how to lean and trust on God. It taught me how to let God fight for me. Because a lot of it was being still. A lot of it was getting out of the way and let God deal with people. And so I didn't know how to do that before. But going through a battle within my own house for years, I had to learn some things, and it refined me and it made me better to where I'll never allow myself to be bullied like that again. And then number 3, it teaches us, like I say, to stop walking away from things. You know, you've got to confront your enemies. You've got to confront your Goliath. Because if you don't confront your Goliath, guess what? You're going to think you got away from him and he's going to pop up again. You're going to be doing something else. Everything going to be going good. And that Goliath is going to pop up again. So until you face your Goliath, and sometimes that's why you have to keep going through the battle, because you keep running from what God is wanting you to face and deal with, you're going to have to keep going through that. You and Goliath going to keep running into each other. If you're going to be at the party, Goliath going to be at the party. You're going to be at church, Goliath going to be at church. So understand, you can't get away from it. So you might as well deal with it head on. And sometimes we're the Goliath in our own life. And so sometimes it's something within us, something we're doing, bad habits, things we're saying. Sometimes we're our own Goliath, and God is going to take you through a battle until you recognize that thing, you confront that thing, and you deal with it. So God wants you to fight and stop walking away, and he'll teach you when to fight and when to let go and get out of the way and let him fight for you. So that's part of what the battle is about too. You got to learn when to hold your peace and let him fight for you. And then number 5, it teaches you to lean and depend and trust on God. It increases your faith, because if it had not been for the Lord, it's a lot of things, you guys, that we wouldn't have survived. I know me personally, it's a lot of things I haven't ever told anybody about, that if it hadn't been for God's intervention, and I see it in my children's life, things that have happened with them, it's good to be a praying mother and a praying father, you guys, because you have no idea what your children are going to face out in this world. And it is so good if you've already been praying for that child, because God honors a parent's prayer. I don't care what nobody says. I've seen him get some children out of some stuff that should have landed them in the grave or in jail or in the hospital. And God came in and handled the situation and nobody was hurt. And then number 6, the battle is to help us let go of what's been holding us back. Sometimes until God allows some chaos in your life, you won't let go of the people that have been holding you back for years. Sometimes until God shows you that person doesn't mean you any good, you won't believe it. You won't believe it until God allows something to happen in your life, in that relationship, and then you'd be like, wow, I wish I'd have let go of that person a long time ago. Wow, that person never really did care about me. God is always trying to show us stuff, but we love who we love and we get attached to who we get attached to. And so God knows that sometimes he's got to let some trouble come in our lives, because that's the only way we'll disconnect from those things that God doesn't want us to be connected to. So sometimes that's why he allows the battles to happen. Something in your life you're connected to that God is trying to pull you away from, and he's got to let it fall apart to where all you've got is him to trust on and lean on. Okay? And then number 7, the battle is to leave us with a certain amount of scars just to remind us of what we went through and how we came over. A lot of times, when we get older, we've got little scars on us, and we can tell people, oh yeah, that one right there, I fell off my bike. It gives us memories. The scars give us memories, you guys. Oh yeah, that's when I was on top of the house and I slipped off the house. That's how I got that scar right here. Oh, this scar right here, yeah, I was playing and we were running. It was hot one summer and blah blah blah. I mean, those scars remind you of what you went through and how you got over. That's why I say don't despise what you've gone through. Don't even despise the scars, because the scars are there so that you can share your testimony with other people. And that's why I try to tell people all the time, don't walk around acting like you perfect. Don't walk around like you've never been through anything, because you're doing everybody a disservice. Because one thing about it, nothing that I know that I've ever gone through has been a waste, and God has proven that to me since I first said that years ago, because He dropped it in my spirit. I've been telling people things about my life, and it's been blessing people simply because I'm not going to let that stuff go to waste. All that crying, all that suffering I went through, no ma'am. I'm not letting that go to waste. I'm going to share that with somebody. I'm going to talk to somebody that's going through what I'm going through. And I'm going to let them know, look where I'm at now. He got me out of all of that. And a lot of times we need to share those things with people, because people feel like they're lost. People feel like they're alone. People are sad out here and depressed. And simply because most of the time they don't have anybody that will have an honest conversation with them. Everybody wants to look good on social media, but let's get to the real. Talk to me in person. It's a lot of stuff I can tell you in person that I'm not going to put out there on social media. So we need to learn to be honest with people and not be afraid to talk about our scars with one another. You never know who you might encourage, who you might uplift, and who you may brighten their day and give them a reason to keep persevering so that they can win just like you did. Number 8, how we deal with our scars is the difference between being a victim and being a victor. Now, there's a difference. If you're going to be talking about your scars and what you went through in a victim mentality, keep it to yourself. Only talk about those things in a victory mentality, because nobody needs company in misery. Don't be that person that brings misery to misery. People that are going through something need something lighter, something bigger than them, something to encourage them, something that can say, come on, baby, it's going to be okay. They don't need somebody else telling me, yeah, it happened to me too, girl. It was horrible. Ooh, I didn't think I was going to make it. They don't need that kind of talk. They're already dealing with what they're dealing with. So if that's the only way you can talk about your scars, you need to keep that quiet. But you need to use what you've been through, the pain you've been through, to bring somebody else out of a deep valley. Because you just never know. Something you may say can change somebody's life. I had a patient yesterday, her daughter also sees us, and she's like only seen my doctor one time. And I was seeing the mother, I was getting her ready. She said, I want to tell you, thank you for what you said to my daughter. Y'all, I don't even remember what I said to her daughter. That was months ago. And she said, she's doing better. And I went back and I looked at her daughter's chart. And the reason she came in, she was like 22 years old and severe depression, just sad all the time, didn't even want to be around her friends and stuff. But her mother said because of a conversation that she and the daughter and I had when I was getting her ready, helped her. And that came from that child's mother. So that's why I say you just never know who God is going to use to help your child. So you got to be able to pay it forward, because you don't ever know. Somebody's praying for somebody just like you to have a moment with their child. And when I tell you that mother, she smiled at me with tears in her eyes. She said she is so much better. She said, I just love Miss Karen. I said, that just blessed my heart. It just made me want to cry. So understand, it's all about how you share your scars. Don't be a victim, because you made it through. So don't come in there with that victim mentality. You do it and on purpose to help them get through and get over to the other side. And use your scars to remind you that you have standards. It makes no sense to keep going through the same stuff over and over again. Let those scars remind you, you know what? Every time I lower my standards, I get hurt. So from now on, no, I'm going to put them where they're supposed to be. Even if I got to be by myself for a while, I'm not lowering my standards anymore because I'm tired of going through what I've been going through. And that way you won't have to keep going around the same track over and over again. You've got to get your standards about yourself. And sometimes those scars will remind you to do that. Now, when it comes to dealing with people and people dealing with you, ask yourself and ask them, can you handle my battle scars? You know, a lot of times when we get in relationships, you guys, we don't even think about what that other person has gone through, what type of post-traumatic stress disorder they might have, what kind of scars they might have. All we look at is what looks good. They got good conversation, this, that, and the other. Anybody can do that for a while, but you get with somebody long enough, you're going to start seeing those scars. So the question is, can you handle the battle scars? So before you commit into a relationship with a significant other, we need to be honest about our own scars. Don't surprise people later on. Don't make other people pay for what somebody else did to you. Be honest about your scars. That way you give them an opportunity to say, you know what, I can't handle your scars. Your scars are too deep for me. I'm not ready for you. I like you, but I don't think I can handle that. That's why it's important to be honest about your scars. Don't just show them the pretty. Don't just show them the handsome. Let them understand that there's something underneath here, and I want to share this with you. This is why I feel the way that I feel. This is what has happened to me, and I'm working on this. I'm trying to be better. You know, it's better to give people the real and give them an option, because it's nothing like having somebody dealing with you that don't know how to handle you, and y'all end up hating each other and mistreating one another. A lot of it is simply because you never got to see each other's scars. Everybody had the facade of, everybody only showed the pretty stuff. The ugly stuff is going to come out eventually. And then get the help that you need to get healed before you bring somebody else into your life. When you know you've got those deep scars that are damaging your life, that are making you make bad decisions, that is not the time to bring somebody else in your life. You need to get healed from that and get some kind of balance in your life before you bring somebody else in. And then connect with people who will support you and pray for you, not judge you. Because when you're honest with people about those scars that you have, sometimes people will judge you and try to tell you you shouldn't feel that way, or you should be over it, or why are you letting that bother you? You don't need those kind of people when you're dealing with scars that you're trying to get past, when you're trying to be better, when you're trying to get healed. So make sure you're not getting a close emotional attachment to people that are going to judge you, because that's only going to slow your progress, because you're going to be more worried about their judgment than your own healing. And then stay away from any relationships that make you feel ashamed of what you've gone through in your past. Nobody should be able to judge you about your past. People need to love you for who you are and understand that we all have a past. Whether everybody's honest about it is one thing, but we all have a past. We've all done some things that we shouldn't have done. And then if you're afraid to be yourself around a person or a group, then you shouldn't be in that relationship, and those people should not be your friends. One thing about it, if you've got a friend or if you're in a love relationship with somebody, that's the person that should see the real you, the raw you, the no makeup, the bonnet, the whatever. They should be able to see you just the way you are and love you just the way you are. And if they don't, then you can't even worry about those types of people. Understand, sometimes we bring people in too close, and those people want you to be a certain way, or they put you in a box. Those people don't really love you. If you can't really be yourself around them, then they're probably with you for a specific reason, and it's not truly the kind of love that you deserve. And then go where you're loved and not judged. Don't let the scars in your past lead to new wounds in your future. Like I said before, that's why you need to get healed before you jump into a relationship. If you know you got a lot of stuff in you and you're mean and you don't trust nobody, you're unforgiving, don't pull anybody else into that. Hey, Tim, don't pull anybody else into that. Get your healing, and don't ruin somebody else's life when you've got all those old wounds that are going to make new wounds in any relationship that you try to get into. Care enough about that other person to say, hey, I still got a lot of stuff I'm dealing with. I don't want to get in a relationship with you because I don't want to bring all of this, into your life. And you got to learn to love people enough to do that. Okay? And don't look for somebody to fix you. Your healing is only going to come from God. So when you talk about your battle scars with people, understand it's not their job to fix you. It's not their job to heal you. Their job is to have compassion and pray for you. And that's all you need from them. And for them to be supportive while you're working that thing out and you're trying to get past those things. But don't look for somebody to fix you. And remember, a spiritual connection is important and will be one of those things that helps your partner see what you don't say. When you're spiritually connected to somebody, when you come up to me and say, hey, Karen, how you doing? I say, oh, I'm good. You're going to feel something is wrong. You're going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. No, you're not. Come on, what's wrong? Come here, talk to me. What's wrong? But when you're not spiritually connected to somebody, it's easy to say, okay, well, she want to have attitude. She don't want to do nothing, fine. But when somebody's spiritually connected to you, that's not good enough because we know you're not acting like yourself. We can feel that you're heavy. We can feel that you're unhappy, and we want to try to help do something about it. So that's why it's good to have a spiritual connection with people because they won't leave you hanging like that and leave you by yourself. Okay? And then be with someone who's committed to stay even when they don't always understand you. It's easy to walk away and say, I just can't deal with her, this, that, and the other. But a man that truly loves you or a woman that truly loves you, they're going to stay committed to you even when they don't understand you, simply because you've already shared with them you've got some scars. So they got to know that it's not always going to be easy. They got to know that you're still dealing with those things. So they've got to be committed enough to stay with you even when they don't understand everything that you're going through. Because sometimes you got to learn when to give somebody some space. And when people don't know you, they'll be all up in your face trying to talk to you when all you want is some private time. Just let me go by myself and be by myself for a little while. They won't understand that, and they'll get offended by that, by you are not allowing them to talk to you right then. And then patience is important. It's the very essence of love. Patience will get you a long way with a lot of things. And that's why a lot of times God has to work patience within us, because a lot of times we want everything right now. And sometimes God makes us wait for things because he's trying to develop patience, because patience is so important, because patience will help you get to where you're trying to get to at the right time instead of getting there too fast and not being ready for it. Okay? And patience gives you time to develop along the way. And if anybody's not promoting your growth, then they're actually stunning your growth. There's nothing in between. If relationships in your life aren't making you want to push forward and make you want to be better, then they're pulling you back. If you're stagnant, or if you don't care about being a better person, that relationship is not helping you at all. You're just around what's familiar. So let's talk about 8 signs of when you can recognize when your loved one or when your friend or when your significant other is going through a battle. Okay? Because it's better to be able to recognize that somebody's in the middle of something or dealing with something rather than to just assume, oh, they got a bad attitude or they don't feel like being bothered today. It's better to be able to recognize it than to not be there for somebody that really needs you. Okay? Number 1, fatigue. A person that's tired all the time, they battling something. They going through something. And so if every time you talk to them, they're like, girl, I'm just tired. You need to spend some time with them and find out what's draining them, what's pulling them down, why are they so tired. Number 2, stress. If they're snappy, if they're always running to and there and they don't have time for nobody and they seem like they're upset all the time, they're frowned up all the time, That person is fighting a battle. Like I say, sometimes we put too much on ourselves, and sometimes we're the problem. But it takes a good friend to say, you know what, you need to let some of that stuff go. You are stressing yourself out. You don't look good. You're not eating. Your hair is falling out. You're gaining weight. It takes somebody to be honest with you and say, you know what, that stress is going to kill you if you don't do something about it. So stress is a sign that somebody's in a battle. Anxiety, being worried about stuff all the time, crying all the time, being withdrawn, don't want to do anything, don't want to go anywhere. That person is showing you outwardly that they're going through something. And a lot of times people will just ignore that and be like, all right, I'll catch you next time. Let me know when you want to do something. Don't allow people to be like that, because they're letting you see outwardly what's going on the inside of them. And if you really love them, then you'll make the time to give them some quality time to try to see what you can do to help them to get better. Being tempted by things and falling into temptation is a sign that you're battling, because sometimes you'll do good and other times you just say, forget it, I don't even care anymore, I'm just going to go on and do it. That's a battle that person is having with themselves. And a lot of times people will judge a person like that and say, I don't know, they know better than to do that. Sometimes it's a cry for help. People acting out. They act out just like children. Sometimes adults act out and do stupid things or do things hurtful to other people, and you watching that, and they're supposed to be your friend or family member. You need to pull them to the side and say, hey, what is going on with you? Why are you acting like that? You know that's wrong. Why are you doing that? You got to be open enough and be honest enough to love people and just be straight up with them and let them know you expect better of them, and try to find out why they're doing what they're doing. Number 5, they're fearful or they're easily angered. They're battling something. Or number 6, they can't see anything good happening in their lives. They can't talk about anything good. They don't want you talking about anything good. They're battling something. A person that lies all the time, they're battling their self-esteem. They're trying to get away with stuff and trying to look better to people. Somewhere inside of them, they don't feel good about themselves. That's why they got to lie all the time. That's why they got to try to impress everybody all the time. That's a battle that they're fighting inside of them. And a person that's revengeful, a person that's always trying to pay people back, and I'm going to show them, and I'm not going to let them get away with that. That person is fighting a battle. That is not who they're supposed to be. And if you love them, you're going to call them on that, and you're going to let them know that there's a better way of doing things. God uses everything that we've gone through in our past to give us the strength and the fortitude to spring forward into our future. It's all about your perspective. And then there's ways to support people while they're going through a battle. Understanding timing is everything. Like I said before, sometimes you can't just run in and try to talk to somebody when they're upset. Sometimes you can't just come in and just want to do a bunch of talking and trying to make decisions when somebody hasn't even processed what has just happened to them. Sometimes you need to understand that timing is everything. There's a time to speak, and there's a time to be quiet. There's a time to move, and there's a time to be still. You have got to ask God to show you how to help somebody that's going through something. Don't go on your own thinking, because a lot of times we think wrong. What you think they need is not always what they need. Number 2, offer your presence, not always your opinion. Sometimes they don't need to hear what you think about the situation. Sometimes they just need to know that you love them and that you're there. Number 3, ask them what they need versus assuming that you know what they need. It's a big difference between coming in saying, hey, I saw what happened. I know what happened. I heard about what happened. What can I do for you? What can I do? Can I go get the kids from school? Can I go and get y'all something to eat? Can I do this? Can I drive you here? Can I do... It's about asking what they need, not what you think they need. Do what makes their life easier. Help them take the load off, because they're already dealing with whatever situation they got to deal with. Do what you can to make their load a little bit lighter, but ask them what they need from you instead of assuming. And another way to support somebody that's going through is offer some sunshine in their life. Give them an opportunity to get out of the house. Call them and say, hey, let's go for a walk. Hey, let's go watch a movie. It's on me. I'll take you to dinner. It's on me. Do something to help them get away from their own thoughts sometimes. Because sometimes you can be so caught up in what's going on, you forget to eat. Sometimes you forget to bathe. Sometimes you just forget about actually living your life. And sometimes it takes that person to remind them that everything's going to be okay. We can't fix this today, so why don't we get away from it and let's take your mind off it and let's do this for just a little bit. So you have to be that kind of person that tries to bring some sunshine in their life when everything seems dark for them at that moment. Number 5, be thoughtful when you give a gift. Make sure it's personal. Don't give people generic stuff. Give people gifts according to what you know about them, about your relationship with them. Don't be generic, because you never know how looking back on something that you gave them in their time of need is going to bless them and how it's going to encourage them. So make a point of giving a thoughtful gift if you're going to give it, to try to brighten somebody's day when they're going through something. Number 6, allow people to be angry and express their feelings without judgment. It's not up to you to say how they should feel, how they shouldn't feel. Let people honestly express themselves, because you might be the only person they can be weak in front of. A lot of times you have to act like you're strong in front of your family, your children, in front of your friends. Hey, Anita, in front of your friends. So you might be that one person that they can be weak in front of and just say whatever they got to say about the situation, whether they're angry about it, how they feel about it, how unfair it is. Let them speak without you judging them, and just be there to support them. Let them have the feelings they need to have. And then people need to break away from pretending that they're okay and they're happy and cheerful. So that's a role that you can play. You can be that person that lets them be real with you. And then sometimes they just need a shoulder to cry on. You never need to feel obligated to say something to make them feel better. Just let them cry. Sometimes you need to cry with them. I've even done that, when something is overwhelming for one of my friends. I don't have no positive words for you. I'm just going to cry with you. We're going to cry together and we're going to wipe each other's tears. And when you know somebody's in a battle and they're having a hard time, make some time in your schedule to give them some more of your quality time. And then love them even when you don't like them. Because sometimes when people are going through something, they're unlikable. They're going to lash out at people. They may say some things they don't mean. Get your feelings off your shoulder and recognize that person is going through it, and shake whatever they're saying off. Don't take it personal, and just understand that they just needed to aim that aggression at somebody. And you're going to have to learn how to love people even when you don't like them. Because it's okay to not be there for somebody if you don't have a connection, because there's nothing expected of you. But when you've been friends with somebody for a long time, you don't just walk away from them because they say one ugly thing, or because they don't want to talk to you at that moment. You don't get in your feelings and say, well, I tried to talk to her. She didn't want to talk to me. No, you don't give up. You give her some time, and then you come back again and again and again. Eventually, that person is going to break and they're going to let you in because of the relationship that you have. Because nobody else in the world is going to be caring about them. You have to care enough to love people even when you don't like them sometimes. Because sometimes people don't know how to handle what they're going through. So don't take it personal. And then my final thought is, remember, the battles in our lives don't come to kill us, but to make us stronger. Yes, we all have scars because of what we've gone through. This is why it's so important to surround yourself with people who truly love you and can handle your battle scars. So learn from the battles and thank God for the scars. They prove that you are a conqueror. You guys, thank you so much for watching, and I do apologize again for breaking my phone and having all of this stuff going on with the screen, but I hope it was decent enough for y'all to hear what I had to say, and I will see you guys next week. Love you guys. Stay hydrated. Try to stay out of this heat if you can. And y'all stay blessed. See you next week. Bye.